question that you have to ask yourself as an employer or being a leader of a company is, why do you want to have a retirement plan? First and foremost is, it is an opportunity for you yourself to save for retirement, more so than the traditional method of an IRA or a Roth. Second reason is that you have the ability to give benefit to your employees. It helps to attract quality employees as well as retain your current employees. So when you look at the options of a retirement plan, it's almost like looking at our coach, Andy Reid, trying to look through his fogged mask. You really can't see what you're doing. And sometimes it's so overwhelming that you need a little guidance. So that's what my purpose is today, is to be a guidance. And the plan for us today is to talk about 4 of the most common retirement plans. There are a multitude of retirement plans, but given our focus of small business, we're just going to focus on these because these are by far the most common. If you have any questions on any of the others, you are welcome to ask during our presentation or after. I have a brochure on the table in front of you. It's yours to take notes if you want. It is chock full of much more information than what we're going to go over today, so we can at least kind of keep it brief. Additionally, I would like to make sure that this is interactive, so if you have any questions as we go through, please let me know. So we've got 4 types of retirement plans. First is a SEP, Simplified Employee Pension Plan. This is employer-sponsored, meaning it is employer contributions only. An employee does not make contributions in a SEP. We have Simple IRA. That is a low-cost alternative to 401k or other qualified types of plans. A safe harbor 401k, and then also an owner-only 401k. So those are the 4 that we're going to talk about today. And a lot of times people are looking and discuss different retirement plans and just can't make a decision. So today's the day. Today's the day, carpe diem, we're seizing the opportunity to figure out which is the right plan for you. Okay, the first one is a SEP. If you are a business owner, single business owner, no employees, oh jeez, I went too far. Gave it away. If you are a single business owner, thank you, Jeff, for that little thing that I didn't get.
I would almost.
So a SEP, a Simplified Employee Pension, if you are a business owner, this is one of the best options for you. Why? Because it's relatively easy to manage and it's relatively low cost in comparison. So with a SEP, this is for self-employed, someone with a side hustle, or a business owner who has less than 5 employees. It's only employer contributions. Like I said earlier, employees do not make contributions to a SEP plan. It is only given by the employer. But if you have employees, whatever portion you want to give yourself, that same percentage of salary has to go to the employees. So if you want to put 10% of your salary into a SEP and you got 3 employees, you have to put 10% of their salary into the SEP as well. So this is one of those benefits that having a, being a single employer with no employees, that's why this is one of the better options to have. The other thing that it's nice about is because the contributions you make into the SEP, that's a deductible business expense. So if you're the owner and you're making contributions as an owner into you as an employee SEP, you can take that contribution and deduct it as a business expense. So it's kind of one of those, you gain 2 with 1 action. Now, if you have employees, the employees are eligible. If they are eligible, you have to make a contribution to. They have to be 21. They have to have worked with your business for 3 of the last 5 years, and they have to make $650 or more.
A month, a year?
Annual.
So this is a great opportunity for a husband-wife team. Husband puts X number of dollars in, automatically has to put the same amount in for his wife.
Yes.
And it goes above and beyond what you would normally put in.
Yes. But there's a better option for a husband and wife team coming up. This is for just a single employer, or one person. One of the beautiful things about it is it's 25%, or your contribution limit is 25% of the employee's gross salary, or if you are the business owner and you have self-employment income, it's 20% of the net adjusted income, up to $58,000. So it's a nice place to put money for, again, if you're self-employed. Now, one of the things that I like to talk about here is also side hustles. So if you know someone who has a regular job participating in a 401k, but they're selling Mary Kay on the side, the money that they make at Mary Kay can technically be used for a SEP. So it's just another step that you can make contributions for your retirement. So the side hustles, everybody forgets about those side hustles, but that's still income coming in that you can make a contribution to a separate retirement account.
Oh, so you're saying the money that I make when I sing at the senior living places could be a side hustle?
It could be a side hustle as long as they're not making that check out to you.
Okay.
So if you haven't, so, yes,
Good, thank you.
you're welcome. Okay, so you might want your employees to be able to make contributions, or they might want to be able to make contributions to a plan. So then, little A, you want them to show me the money. So that way they are making contributions as well as as employer, you're making contributions.
Are the employees fully vested at that time?
Depends, doesn't have to be.
You can design it.
You can design it however you want. So the first one we're gonna talk about is a simple. The simple is immediate vesting. There's no question on that. And so a simple is for employers who have less than 100 employees. Now, I would say that that number is closer to 30. Because if you are a business owner and you are managing this on your own, managing this plan for 100 employees is going to take a great amount of your time. But if you have less than 30, it would be manageable. Now the contributions, so this is, employees have the ability to make a contribution to their plan, a percentage of their salary. You, as the employer, get to decide. You either do 2% across the board. So whether that employee participates or not, you are making a 2% contribution, 2% of their salary into their SEP. Or you could choose to reward those employees who are making a contribution, and it's dollar for dollar, at least up to 3%. You can do more, but you have to do 3%. So the employee can put up to $13,500 as the elective deferral, their choice, into the simple IRA. If the employee's over 50, it's an additional $3,000. And then as the employer, you would put up to 3% of their salary in it as the employer contribution. Does that make sense?
Per what? Paycheck?
Year.
Month? Year?
Per year, salary.
Gotcha.
Okay? Now, employees, the only eligibility requirement for a simple is in the last 2 years, they have to have earned $5,000, or they're currently are making $5,000 in the current year. So if you have an employee who just started, but they're gonna make $5,000 in the current year, they would need to participate in the plan. And it's fully vested, so once they're in the plan, and they have access to all of the money. Does that make sense?
Okay.
The next option is a safe harbor 401k. The reason that we say a safe harbor 401k is because a 401k plan is generally for larger businesses, those with 100 employees or more. But several years ago, they created a 401k that's called Safe Harbor. What Safe Harbor means is that the plan benefits both the employer and the employee, but it doesn't require non-discriminatory testing. And non-discriminatory testing is all based on income. So if you have, let's call it 10 employees and you're making $100,000, but you've got an employee who's making $30,000, this plan has to be beneficial to both of you and not give you as making $100,000 more of an advantage than your employee who makes $30,000. And how they do that is specifically by the contributions. So the employers, again, have a choice, can contribute a minimum of 3% per employee, regardless if they're contributing or not. Or they match dollar for dollar up to 4%. You can do more than 4%, but it is a minimum of 4%. So as an employer, you have a choice how you want to do that. Now, the employees, they can defer of their salary up to $19,500. That's their portion. Your portion is just the percentage that you have agreed to pay. If the employee is over 50, the catch-up is $6,500. So the employee has the ability to put away up to that $19,500. Okay? Again, employees are eligible at 21. Now, if there is a vesting schedule, meaning the employee does not have access to your contributions immediately, you can have a 1-year eligibility, so they have to be an employee for 1 year. If it is an immediate vesting, then the employee has to wait 2 years. That's maximum times. As an employer, you can say, no, we want them to be effective immediately, which is fine. But you can't push them off 5 years or 10 years, okay? The wonderful thing about a 401k is you have Roth options. Roth is after-tax money that grows tax-free. So the employee, their elective deferral, so whatever money they're putting in into the 401k, they can choose to have it Roth money, so that is after-tax money and it grows tax-free. Your contribution as the employer is regular tax deferred money. So what happens a lot of times is I'm sitting down talking to participants of the 401k, there's a lot of confusion. They'll say, oh, I have a Roth 401k, all of that money is growing tax-free. That is not the case at all. Their contributions to that 401k are growing tax-free. The employer's contributions are tax deferred. So the employer gets the business expense or the business deduction. That's why, because there's no way they can do an employer contribution to an employee's 401k that's Roth, that's already been taxed. So that's why there's two separate pieces to it. Does that make sense?
So when that employee leaves my employ, they will essentially have two different pots of money, if you will, for which they'll need to go to their planner and remove it from my 401k system, one into a Roth IRA, the other deciding if they put it in a traditional or convert it to Roth.
That is correct.
And pay the taxes on that amount.
That is correct.
Okay.
Okay. Now, the next one, and Jeff, this is back to your question of husband and wife. The owner-only 401k is for someone who does not have any employees. And the owner and the spouse can participate in this. They can put up to, again, $58,000 is the max on all of the plans, but they can put $58,000 into this plan that's on an annual basis with a $5,000 catch-up. So the SEP we talked about earlier, the SEP has no catch-up. So if you're an employer, single owner, this provides you the opportunity, if you're over 50, to put an additional $6,500 into your plan, but it also allows you to add your spouse. So if you do have an employee, you do have to allow them at the exact, if let's say the employee came on after you've already started it, unexpectedly you grew too fast, you'd have to add the employee to the exact percentage you're putting away for both spouses. Okay? Now, there are IRS forms that are required for this plan. It is a relatively easy process. It's the form, and it's not 4,400, it's 5,500. That's a typo on my part. It's a 5,500 easy, but it's only after assets exceeds $250,000. Okay? So, and again, you can do Roth. So the employee contribution, you, your spouse, the contributions you make into it, that is all tax deferred. That can be tax-free money as opposed to the employer contribution, which is tax deferred money, just like with the Safe Harbor 401k. Okay? Pretty much sums it up. So as an employer, you have multiple opportunities to help your employees save. The one good thing about COVID is the savings rate, both from a savings perspective and a retirement savings perspective, jumped considerably. The highest it's been in a decade. The average American, this is average, age from 18 to 100, the average American has less than $100,000 in their retirement account. It's $98,500 is the average amount. That is woefully short. No one in this room could retire at 65, 70, 75 with $100,000 in that retirement account. So the importance of saving for yourself, helping your employees save for retirement is desperately needed. So this is just different options for you to not only help yourself and help your employees. Now, one thing that I do want to talk about is, regardless of what plan you as an employer are in or your employees are in, you still have the opportunity to save outside retirement plans. So if I have a SEP at work and I am making contributions to my SEP, I still can make contributions to a traditional IRA and a Roth IRA. So contribution limit every year for both of them is $6,000. If you're over 50, you get a $1,000 catch-up. The traditional IRA is tax deductible. So if you make a contribution to the IRA, you get a deduction on your taxes. That money grows tax deferred. When you pull that money out, it is counted as ordinary income. If you try to pull that money out before you're 59 and a half, you get a 10% penalty and you have to pay taxes as if it's ordinary income. There are also income limitations. So the income limitations entirely depend on whether or not you're participating in a plan, whether you're participating in a plan, another retirement plan, or whether your spouse is participating in a retirement plan. Roth IRAs are my absolute favorite way to save money. They are without a doubt the easiest and best way to do it because this money is going to grow tax-free. You do not get the current tax deduction, so it's after-tax money. You put it into a Roth, you invest it, and it grows. And when you pull that money out, there is absolutely no tax as long as you're over 59 and a half. If you pull that money out under 59 and a half, you have to pay 10% penalty on the growth. Your contributions you can take out whenever you want. I never recommend it, but your contributions you can pull out should you need it, but you cannot touch the growth until you're 59 and a half. Challenge with pulling out money in a Roth IRA is if you opened it up 5 years ago or before, the fiduciary company did not have to keep those records. So if you're making $2,000 or let's call it $5,000 contribution, you have at least made $25,000 of contributions, and you can assume what the growth is. But I, as your advisor, if it's, again, 5 years or older, I don't have to tell you what that is. It's up to you. Now it's my job to tell you what those are. So I'll tell you what your contributions are, I'll tell you what your growth is. So if you call and say, Kelly, I need $25,000 out of my Roth, and I can say, well, you've made only $20,000 you get that tax-free. You're gonna have to pay the 10% penalty on the $5,000 that's grown. So, highly recommend a Roth IRA. There are also income limitations on that. Basically, the income limitation, if you are married, filing jointly, it's $198,000. If you and your spouse make more than $198,000, I'm sorry, a Roth option is not available to you. If you are single head of the household, it's even lower, it's closer to $50,000. And if you are married filing separately, it's only $10,000. So there are income limitations for the Roth. One thing that we can talk about, however, is you can make contributions to an IRA, and then you can convert it into a Roth. So if you want to put $6,000 into an IRA, and then you convert it to a Roth, you pay taxes on whatever it is you convert, and then that money in the Roth is going to grow tax-free. Make sense? Okay. That's all I got. That's pretty easy.
All right, everyone, well, that was a great afternoon, we're gonna go to the bar.
It's awesome.
I thought the penalty was higher.
So you are Yoda now?
Yeah, I am.
Oh,
I am. What, you thought what was higher?
The penalty for early withdrawal.
10%.
How many times can you transfer a Roth IRA, or a traditional IRA to a Roth? Isn't it a one-time deal?
Every year.
Every year you can do it.
It's not a one-time deal. You can convert an IRA to a Roth one time a year.
And the same, annual salary limitations are on both, because it said that on the bottom.
It's pretty close. I always forget what the IRA limitations are. The difference between an IRA and a Roth is in an IRA, you can contribute to a non-deductible IRA. So if you make more than, if you're covered by a plan, it's $125,000. But if you can do a non-deductible IRA, so it's crazy because this is still after-tax money. So if you make more than $125,000, you open up an IRA and you put in your $5,000, that you don't get any deductions on that, but it grows tax deferred. So it's another way to save, but it has no tax advantages to it. So then, in order to convert it to a Roth, you have to pay taxes on it. So the nice thing is, you've got it saved, you pay the taxes, and you let it grow tax-free. So,
But you're paying taxes on twice.
unfortunately.
Yeah.
Well, yes, you are. But,
You're over that limit.
yes, but there's no capital gains. You don't have to worry about capital gains as you go through. You just get to pull it when you need. So, what other questions can I answer?
So if I had a traditional 401k for 5 years and then decided to change it to a Roth
Yes.
and kept it that way for 5 years, some of that is still going to be taxable, but some of that, it's a
No.
very,
No.
Once you convert it,
There's no income limitation to convert a traditional IRA to a Roth. There's no income limitation at all. So if you currently have an IRA, let me go back to your question. If you currently have a 401k, you have to roll over the 401k into an IRA. Once it's in an IRA, you can convert part or all from an IRA into a Roth. Your current contributions, if you exceed the income limitations, that's where it gets tricky. But your 401k, you roll it into an IRA, then you can convert it. And like I said, you can do some or you can do all. It doesn't matter. What I always suggest to my clients is we never want to jump into a higher tax bracket because it's taxed as ordinary income. So if I'm right there on the edge of going into another tax bracket, maybe this year I'm only going to convert $5,000 so I don't bump up into a higher tax bracket. And next year, if my income is a little different and I have more wiggle room, I'll convert a little bit more. But you can always convert the IRA into a Roth. Did that answer your question?
yeah, yes and no. Mine is very convoluted. I think I just need to ask more questions about my specific one.
Okay.
That helps a little bit though. Appreciate it.
Any other questions?
So this is really a dual conversation between your planner and your CPA and you.
Almost everything is yes. Yes. So, because a lot of times what I will do for my clients is, especially when they go to file their taxes, we have a good idea at the end of December what their salary is going to be. And so do a conversation to find out what should we be doing. And that's always a very good idea. Yes, sir.
Cost of the different plans.
It all depends. So the SEP is the cheapest by far. So the SEP, because you are managing and administering the SEP, the cost is your time. Then you find an advisor who is going to set up the accounts and invest the accounts and talk to the employees. That's going to be dependent upon the advisor. So it should not be very expensive at all. A simple is going to be very similar. You're doing all of the administrative work. Some will get a TPA, a third-party administrator, to do all of that, and it's just the cost of the TPA. The advisor will also charge you a teeny bit. Typically for retirement plans, I charge 0.5 percentage point for the total assets. So that's how I do all of my small business plans. With a 401k, other than the owner-only 401k, 401k, you're gonna need a third-party administrator. So whatever those costs are, and again, whatever the financial advisor is gonna charge.
If you got a ballpark, like a friend of mine, he said that, typical, simple IRA is gonna be hundreds of dollars, where a 401k, just to get it up and started, is thousands of dollars.
Let's say hundreds and thousands.
Okay.
So it's significant. The fiduciary body that governs all of the retirement plans, all of my industry, it used to be pretty significant what the 401k could charge, and that's not necessarily the case anymore. So just as a way to level the playing field. So, what other questions?
Kelley, are you seeing, is the millennial generation investing right now?
The millennials are investing more than anyone else.
Really?
But the millennials don't trust people like me, don't trust people like Matt. So they are doing a significant portion online. So their banking is online, they're going to TD Ameritrade, they're going to
Interesting.
all of those
Bitcoin.
online versions. They don't want to talk to me, they want to do it themselves. But they are by far, in percentage-wise, the best savers.
But aren't they the biggest?
Of course they are. They live in parents' basements yet. What are you talking
They
about?
don't have any bills.
There's no bills.
Exactly.
There's no mom and dad's health insurance until 26.
Well, yeah.
Exactly.
They eat their
Oh.
food, they don't have anything.
Well, yeah, obviously we've heard a lot of different generation discussions, but it is the generation that saw their parents go through the recession,
Yes.
and now through this crazy time.
Mhm.
So,
Yeah, but they're investing in crazy stuff, right?
They are investing in crazy stuff though.
They're not,
Well,
there's no life insurance
But
policy.
I would not call
They don't do life
them crazy.
The bedrock stuff they're not doing, they're
That's why I hear a lot of
investing
young
in
people.
whatever they see on Reddit.
oh, I got you.
Yeah.
The hot, whatever the latest buzz is, that's what they're investing in, which is okay if you want to gamble, but you really need to go see Kelley and talk about mutual funds and spreading out your risk and planning. Because I talk to them and I see it come out, all those Robin Hoods, like, what did you invest in? Oh, I found this crazy company, they make this really cool skateboard. That's neat, man, but are they gonna be there in 5-10 years,
Most of those kids aren't in that very long. They're almost day trading.
Yeah.
When my son was 18, all his buddies were doing this Robin Hood thing, and he was like, "Dad, can you sign me up for an account?" I'm like, "You can do that. Just take a certain allotted money, $500, no more, no less, whatever, and see how you do. And if you grow up, great. Then just keep playing with that money."
And if you lose it, you're done.
Yeah,
If you lose it, it's your $500 you pissed away.
It's like
And that's a
going to
valuable
Vegas
lesson.
without going to Vegas.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's really no reason to go to Vegas anymore. You can now gamble online for betting sports and all that
Yeah.
stuff.
Well, there's reasons to go there. Good
Well,
It's a good time.
really, no, I was just there, Mark, there's nothing there. It's,
From someone who is
Nice.
already into this, using the money.
oh,
Okay.
got it. What do you mean? You're working all the time. Why are you touching your money?
Because I want to, I'm having fun. I don't really need to work anymore,
Okay.
because I've had a very good broker who's asked me those questions
Yeah.
and said, well, do you need income, do you need growth? You know, that's what these kids are gonna have to have a problem with.
Yeah.
Because as those things change in your family, it's just like you've seen these ads on television.
Yeah.
Oh, new twins, and stuff like that. That's exactly what we are going through right now. But when you have somebody like Kelley, like the people that I'm using, and I have for 20 years, I know they're taking care of me, because their income comes from my income.
Yeah.
And that's fine, because they're providing a service.
So I have to say though, I've got a lot of clients who will bring in their millennial children to chat about moving forward. We have great conversations and then they go and they do it all themselves.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
Where do you think is going to happen with Bitcoin? I mean, I just have to ask, because that's all the young people that I talk to want to talk about, is Bitcoin.
Billy, there's a question that I'm not about to come close to answering. However, you will ask the financial industry and they're gonna say, oh, it's short term, it's not gonna last.
Okay.
You ask some of the non-financial people who say, you better invest now. I mean, it's very polarizing. You know, the challenge that you have with Bitcoin right now is it's not sanctioned by the government. They can't do it. They are trying desperately to figure out how to do it, but right now they're not. And so they're saying, oh, it's not going anywhere. But if you watch and see the investment track,
That's part of the reason people like Bitcoin, because
So I
it's
was
not
gonna say-
managed by anyone.
They don't want it to be.
Yes.
That's right. I don't need anyone oversighting where I came up with my money. 'Cause I remember when I bought a house, in that process, someone was like, well, where'd this $20,000 come from? I'm like, well, you care, it's cash that I keep in my house, doesn't matter where it came from. No, you have to account, you have to account for anything over $5,000 that has to be accounted for. I'm like, no, I'm sorry.
It's actually less than that now.
Is it less than that now? They're down to
Well, it
3,000?
depends on your income level. It's half of your monthly income.
Wow.
wow. Now, going back to Bitcoin, one of the nice things about Bitcoin right now is there's no capital gains tax on it.
Yeah.
So, you know, buy low, sell high, and then turn around and reinvest it. You don't have to do a hold, you don't have to do anything. So,
Thanks for your opinion, that's all I was going to.
I like it. Yeah, I mean, it's a good diversification tool,
Yes.
so. All right, any other questions? Thank you.
Awesome.
Appreciate you
Thank you
guys
so
being
much.
here.
Big round of applause.